Hello and welcome to PM Express. And let me start by saying there won't be enough time to talk about this subject, but at least we have to start. We're looking at road carnages, but I want to broaden it up and just look at our culture with relationship to roads in Ghana, the Ghanaian culture and the road. That's where I want to broaden it, because the issue of road is legendary. From Gordonsburg all the way down to Nanado, we've always had road issue, and at every given era that comes with new challenges on roads. However, we need the roads if the nation has to develop. So rather than pointing fingers and the blame game, what do we do going forward so we have enough roads for you and I? The faster we can move between Accra and Kumasi, the quicker the nation will develop with regards to business. The safer it will be, and our sons and daughters will not die needlessly. In 2017, I have here 2,076 people died in road accidents. 2,000. I mean, that's a lot of people dying just because they wanted to travel from A to B. You go and do an assessment in Iraq and in ISIS and all the battlefields where they were at war and not this many people died. So how come somebody just making a simple journey lose their lives? We need to really investigate from all angles, from government, from policing, from engineering, from responsibility of driving. What is it that is making our roads so dangerous? What is it that is causing us not to have as many roads? What is it that's having our roads eroding too quick enough? We're going to try and find out all this in 1 hour. My name is Nana Ansakwa, the fourth Chief of the Very Little Republic of Akwamu Dumasan. When I come back, we are looking at carnage on roads and our culture with roads. Don't go. Well, thank you very much for staying. We are laughing at the director. Our director is very, very meticulous. We're laughing at him. Everything has to be symmetrical. He's a very good director. Yeah, forcing. Yeah, one. Well, with me in the studio, sat right next to me is Inisa Fusaini, former Minister for Roads and Highways and also Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale.
Central.
Tamale Central, the heart of Tamale. And I have in studio my own senior brother, Nana Ano Ami here, road safety advocate, clearly in mourning today because 2,700 people, 2,076, it's not acceptable. Nana, you're welcome.
Thank you, my brother.
Joining us on the phone will be Engineer Bimpong, who's a road engineer, and also DSP Alexander Obeng, who is of the MTTU, with regards to road safety. He's also there. But I want to start with Inusa and find out what our culture, the Ghanaian culture and roads. Are we stuck with it? Number one, as soon as you construct a road, we build market next to it. Every transport, every cargo seems to be on the road. And you don't seem to build more roads. There's always, all 20 kilometers, 15 kilometers, at most 100 kilometers. But you never get that industrial revolution with regards to roads. I mean, I know it's a loaded question, but you've been in the ministry, so let me load you up. Our culture with roads, what's happening?
Well, thank you so very much for this opportunity to speak to this very important issue. And just like you said, you've introduced your topic this evening by saying that you're going to talk about road carnages, and we can talk about it if we don't express our condolences to the family of Ebony. In fact, that was a painful loss. It was a potential vigorous life cut short by an accident on the road, and we have to recognize that and express our sympathies and condolences to the family. Now, you must understand that roads are facilitators of development, or they lead to growth points. When you do a road in an area, if the area was virgin, give and take in 5 years' time, you will not know the area again. People are going to go there because it becomes easier to travel to that place. So people are going to go there. So roads, its construction drive development. Now, but somehow, in Ghana, we've never gotten the equation right. We've allowed private developers and individuals and chiefs, and you are chiefs, to parcel land, get approval for those lands, and start allocating those lands for development without putting in infrastructure. Okay? So at any point in time, development is ahead of road construction. It's actually ahead of the utilities. Okay? And so there's always a catching up that you have to do. In Ghana, that's what happens. And you find places like in East Legon. That was, East Legon was one of the prime areas of Accra. At the time it was coming up. But East Legon, those people, middle class and upper class people who were building in East Legon, were not putting in roads. They were building their nice houses and waiting for government to come and do the roads. You see, so you will always have a catching up to do. Now, then you have the roads, they are done. And again, there have been attempts to try to designate the capacities of vehicles that can use the road, because every road is built to take a certain capacity of load. But again, we've not gotten it right. You build a road to take a certain load, then you have all manner of vehicles with different load capacities using the road. Now, you institute weighing scales to check axle load, and there's uproar. People don't yet see the correlation between overloading your vehicle or going beyond the axle weight and then the lifespan of the road. They have not yet seen the correlation. Now, then you have a good road. Before that was a bad road. Then President Kufuor even had occasion to lament that. People have a bad road. They are struggling. Pregnant women are dying. You invest resources in building the road. And it appears that vehicle owners who hitherto were laboring to use the road now want to make up for all the time that they were wasting when they were using the road. So overspeeding. And then carnage, accidents. So
then the locals construct the illegal
the locals will then come and say, well, never mind this highway. We need to prevent accidents on the road. And so we are going to, they come and dig across. They come and just and facilitate the destruction of the road. They just dig across, and that's all. And so I think that the engineers, and I love engineers, I've always said when I was at the Ministry of Roads and Highways, I said that I love them. They think out solutions to these problems. But the most fundamental, as I learned when I was a Minister of Roads, is that anytime you are designing a road, anytime you are building a road, you're not building the road for cars. You are building the road for human beings. So the safety of the human being is of utmost concern. How do I design a road that people, pedestrians and road users who are always potentially in conflict, use the road with minimal conflict? So that's always what agitates the minds of the engineers when they are putting in the road.
Let me bring Nana Ami here, and Yunus has elaborated it, exactly what's happening on the road. Are we stuck with it? What can we do?
What can we do? It's a $64 million question. Before I would start, let me say we are privileged to have Alaji here, former road minister, as our Ochami.
yes. Someone is
he said it all about the unfortunate demise of a national asset. For all you care, you may even not like her dancing hall antiques or what have you, but she is an asset that the state would have benefited a lot out of her. The millions of dollars that would have followed her, this girl, it's like in the 70s, you had Madonna in the UK. You had a short time, in the 3-4 years or 5 years, but there was a lot of money that followed that young Madonna in the UK. And this is the Madonna of our time in Ghana. But what have you done? Because of just something very basic that we could have done. We've lost this national asset. This girl alone will bring us more money than Galamsey.
Yeah. Very intangible asset of the
Republic. What have you? Because of some people sitting on their jobs. We've lost such a national asset. And you go out there, and now I heard when I was coming that we have our GIPC and Ministry of Finance going out there with cap in hand, looking at, they call it roadshow, looking for $1 billion bond. My goodness, the state Ghana, we are blessed with natural resources, and now we are using our natural resources to train human resources. But what happens? We train them and we lose them recklessly and needlessly on the roads. So I wonder, what sort of leaders do we have? In a democracy, rule of law is what runs a democracy. With the absence of rule of law, discipline, and what have you, then we don't have democracy, you have anarchy. I'm sure our brother here, whatever. So we constantly seeing conflicts on the road, and you don't need PhD, or you don't need to go to Oxford or Cambridge to go and acquire the knowledge to solve these problems. The problems are there. The solutions, structured solutions are here. I sitting here, I'm not very well lettered, but I have some of the solutions. But would our politicians listen to us? When we vote, we go and stand in the sun, we vote for the politicians to come and serve us. They go out there and they become the sheiks and what have you, and they don't even listen.
I have a question for both of you, but I'll start with Inus. Why is it like you give a contract to a contractor and they seem to can do basically everything, like dig a pit and go, you know, they come to work at 9 o'clock when we are going to work, by 5 when we are finished, they also finish. They don't work at night, they don't cover their pit, leave things.
Well, that one is our own Ghanaian culture. That's our own culture. If you begin fixing contractors with claims for negligence, then they'll set up. You see, the law is designed to check such misbehaviors, negligence. Now, so if a contractor digs a pitch, he's supposed to warn road users of a looming danger ahead at a certain distance, so that even if you are speeding, you have the opportunity to stop. But they don't warn, they do it with careless abandon.
Now in safety, we call it work zone safety. Work zone safety.
You have
goes
to
with your contract.
Contracts. So we don't do it. I mean, probably this heap of sand that was on the road had no warning.
No, actually, I've looked at the pictures. There wasn't any heap of sand on the road.
Okay.
It was actually on the shoulder. There was a bridge.
Yeah.
That there was an erosion, and that erosion, which is not on the road, but on the side of the road, the shoulder of the road, that was meant to be used to fill the erosion. But because the driver had to avoid a head-on collision with the Sprinter that was doing reckless overtaking of the VIP. So he went onto the, like we always do, went onto the shoulder of the road. And then that heap of sand, which was just not even about a meter high, he flipped on it and then got on and hit the side of the VIP, which had seen what was going on and had stopped. So that was why you see very little damage to the VIP. But the one who caused the accident or the incident was a Sprinter who was doing a reckless overtaking, and the driver of our beloved.
Did it stop?
Ebony.
I bet it didn't stop.
Pardon?
The Sprinter.
Well, would he stop?
Terrible.
And look at what's happened. But to be honest with you, I would not blame the contractor because I've seen the pictures. I've spoken to the National Road Safety Commission manager in Eastern Ashanti region. He's really briefed me with everything what happened, and the contractor had put men at work. No, that's why I sent you the pictures to show your viewers that if you really study it, then it was really rather unfortunate that it happened. Yeah. But this time round, I don't think it's the fault of the contractor.
So we're just saying that the thing is that where a contractor fails, refuses, or neglects to put warning signs. Now in explaining, he's sort of provided a clear picture of the scene, and it appears that the contractor did what was allowable under his contract.
Yes.
We've not seen the pictures, but I'm saying that most of the times the contractors fail to do that.
Yeah.
And then people run into those hazards, and then accidents occur. Sometimes we just refuse to follow speed limits.
I don't want to really exonerate or be an apologist of the contractor.
Okay.
But fact is a fact, and you should speak to them.
Okay.
I mean,
hopefully we can get it.
most times, as Honorable is saying, most times the contractors don't do the needful. But this time around, I mean, I've seen the pictures and I've convinced myself that that was not the case. But having said that, we have engineers who are assigned and paid for to ensure that they make sure that the work zone safety and all other things, procedures are adhered to. What happens? Do they go to sleep? Or they connive with the contractors not to do the right thing? Alhaji, you have been in the seat for over 4 years as the Minister for Roads and Highways. So you were saying earlier, or alluding to earlier, that if you want to sanction these contractors who do not do or comply by or go by their contract, then hell breaks loose. Is that right?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, and sometimes it's we. I mean, we don't just, parents don't feel emboldened to take action and go to court and claim negligence, charges for damages. Like in this particular case. I mean, if it were established, but we are yet to see the video, if it were established that there was some negligence on the part of one of the actors on the road, okay, sue. And then when they mulct the offending party with huge damages, others will take heed and know that, I mean, that's not how to conduct yourselves in the... I mean, you're driving in Europe, the rules are good. You're driving in Europe, and before long, you see a police car trailing you and telling you that no, it appears that you're speeding. You're driving beyond the speed limit when there's nobody on the road. It's not because they fear that you will damage the road. It's just they fear for your safety. It's your safety. I mean, pylon riders go onto motorbikes, they have no helmet. And you stop there and tell them, wear your helmet, the helmet breaks loose. So sometimes you wonder whether we don't value our own lives.
Alhaji,
let me divert a bit and come back with staying with roads. And Alhaji, again, probably all the questions are coming to you, but why aren't we adopting cheaper technologies? Now, cheaper technology, let's say, like the inner lanes of estate could use the cheaper technology, and then maybe the high roads that would carry the bigger load, we go to our conventional bitumen and chippings. But everywhere is bitumen, chippings, asphalt.
Blacktop.
blacktop, and it's millions per kilometer.
And blacktop is not putting even the basic on lining.
Yeah,
markings on them. Yes.
So why don't we adopt this polymer technology, which are simple and 600% cheaper? I'm told.
Let me help out. You see, I was thinking that the more we make the road better, asphalting it is smooth, then all of a sudden, the drivers who hitherto have not been trained to do speeding or cannot be in control of a vehicle beyond 100 kilometers an hour, all of a sudden they become Speedy Gonzales. Then they want to stretch, and then you see, I want to find out any of these drivers who do 150 kilometers an hour on a good road like the N1 and stuff like that, whether they have been to proper training school to be able to control a car within that speed limit. I bet about 99% have not done so. Yet, day in and day out, we see them doing 150 kilometers an hour. Let me give you a practical example. On the Fiesta Royal bypass, that they have now extended it going to Hacho.
Hacho, yes.
Now, I sit in my little XX, probably, because when you are even in the XX, you are doing 80, you don't even notice that you're doing 80 veers into 100 kilometers. But you get vehicles zooming past you as if you are crawling. And you look around and say, wait a minute, I'm doing 100 kilometers an hour inadvertently. But there has cars that have come zoom past you.
They're doing more than 100.
They're doing over 150 kilometers an hour. But our speed limit is 100 kilometers on the motorway.
Yeah.
But a secondary road, which is a bypass, you're doing 150 kilometers an hour. You see, the solution is there. We have lagged behind with years. Technology that we're talking about. These days, America, nobody does physical arrest on the roads. The technology, as you mentioned earlier, will do the physical arrest. And you do your 80 kilometers an hour or 80 miles an hour on the M1. You won't go 1 kilometer. The thing is in the post waiting for you. And then you go and pay, and you wait and see if you don't pay, you see what happens.
Let me come to you.
So let me answer your question. We have, the Ministry of Roads has been experimenting with new technologies. We know that at any point in time, you have to work to reduce cost of roads. I remember in 2016, it was a huge matter. Asphalt, depending on the road infrastructure architecture, can cost between $1.5 million to $2 million.
Wow.
Per kilometer?
Per kilometer, in Ghana. And so we have spoken about it. The World Bank even did a study and gave comparative costs, in various jurisdictions in the sub-region. So people have been worried. So the Ministry of Roads and Highways has been looking at other technologies. This Sunjani Kumasi Road, it's been there for close to 10 years. So it's gone past its useful lifespan. And so we thought that Germans led by a Ghanaian came to us and said, look, there's a technology that can eat up the road. What eating up the road is laying it again. Okay, so you don't go look for road material, base materials elsewhere. You use what is on it, eat it up, then use that material as base material, and then thereafter you reduce the cost. So we decided that we could try that technology on an experimental basis on that road. There's another road that that we did in Tema industrial area, where we use some material that was imported to lay a kilometer of the road. It's a very busy road to see how it could withstand the load of a heavy load of vehicles because of what I earlier on described, that Ghana, it seems we are very tolerant of all weights or loads on our roads. So we have been experimenting with technology. The road material is now becoming scarce.
But see,
let me stay with that. I'll come back to you. But other countries have used it. It's not like if it's new to Ghana. I know Liberia has used it, some of South African countries.
Zimbabwe has used
it. So, I mean, do we need to really try? I mean, the same temperature, the same, climate. Do we really need to try and try? Why don't we sanction
that's the way
that?
to do things in a systematic way. That you want to convince yourself that you know Obi Menu, the famous lawyer in Sunyani. He said repeating mistakes is not experience. Okay.
Have these examples worked so far? Are the roads holding up so far?
No, the Timber one was holding up. The Timber one, the greatest challenge and difficulty, bottleneck, was that the material is brought in from outside. So everything is brought from outside. In fact, while I was there, I had another person come with a new technology in patching potholes, asphalt potholes. The whole thing is mixed up, brought in. You just take a rubber bag like the way sand is packaged in Europe. You carry it into your car, and then you get to the place where the hole has been created, or then you mix it there and fill it, and just wait around that area for 15 minutes, and it dries out. Okay, so there are many other technologies that are coming in, but we have not yet moved. We're still using the old technology. What we have been doing, for instance, in using seals, double seal and single seal, like bituminous surfacing, we had experimented with 10 millimeter chippings for sealing, okay? And then we thought that we should bring it to 8 millimeter and then use 10 millimeter as a second seal so that the holes that are formed will be leveled out. When we used it, we realized that the roads were not, the primer seals were not lasting longer. Go back and look at the roads that were done some time ago, even with 12 millimeter chippings, and they were still holding on. So before I left the ministry, the engineers were considering bringing it back, okay, because they were holding. And the experience shows that the roads last longer. And we had also had to deal with the complaint, like in East Legon. People called in and said, look, this road was done less than a year ago. The road is gone. Because it was a primer seal. Primer seals are done just intended to stop the dust. And then you can come and seal. Then when the primer seal is done, you're waiting for government to pay you. Government has not paid the contractor yet. The road is open to traffic. Then in 6 months, in fact, primer seals are not supposed to last more than 6 months. But the contractor has not been paid in 6 months. By the 7th, 8th, 9th month, the road is deteriorated. And the public will see that there was blacktop. And they will begin complaining that this road was done less than a year ago and is deteriorated. And so these are the issues that has been bedeviling the road sector. But clearly, I can say for sure that the Ministry of Roads and its engineers are on the lookout for better technology.
Let me take a quick break and then I'll come back.
Technology. I want to
let me take a quick break. When I come back, I'll go to Nana with better technology. Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying. Joining us on the phone now is Engineer Bimpong. Engineer, you're welcome. Okay, I think we dropped the call. But do we have the pictures on screen? Okay, we have the pictures. So this is the road where the tragic incident happened. And so what? This is the galley they fell in, or this is the galley they were trying to swerve?
No, this is what was pertaining in the past. It's been there for a long time. Okay. But then the contractor was engaged to try and fix it. So he had then brought filling material to bring bring it up to base. Yeah, there. You can see it there. You see?
I see. So you're going to fill up this hole.
Yes, that's what was going to. So this is really on the shoulder. It's not on the main road.
Yeah.
So that's where the sand was piled up to bring it up to grade level.
Terrible.
Now, well, sir, yes, we were talking. Are we on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Alaji was talking about
technology.
Today, really, should I say I'm scandalized to hear that a road in Ghana costs 1 kilometer between $1.5 million and $2 million.
Asphalt road.
Asphalt road, okay, good.
Asphalt road.
But you know, Alaji, or you agree with me, that 80% of the road that we construct come from the quarry. The material we use for base preparation, the aggregates, the corridors, we can use it, and then everything, 80% of it comes from the quarry. Now, once you agree with me, let me go back. You know, the Bonaparte days in France, when labor was very cheap, they built these cobblestone roads. Now, even up to date, now, with France, with all their development and what have you, if you go to Paris today, you find these cobblestones roads that are still in existence. But what I have as a road safety advocate, what I have come up with as a solution, a structured solution for stopping speeding on our roads, which is a major factor, is that now we have a lot of these galamseyers on our hands.
Let me bring Engineer Bimpong in while you finish. Hello, Engineer Bimpong. Do we have Engineer Bimpong? Hello, Engineer Bimpong. Good evening. Okay, we'll work on the sound and then we'll come back onto it. Yeah.
Now, cobblestones, now they call them Belgian blocks. These Belgian blocks, for me, in my view, we have these, the reason why they don't use these cobblestones or Belgian blocks, which is now more rectangular, the cobbled ones are a bit rough, like diamond shape. But now we have technology that can cut them rectangular, that they now call them Belgian blocks. Now, that really drastically reduces the speed of the vehicles on the road. Alaji, do you agree?
Yeah.
So, in my view, now the more we try to use asphalt to make the road smoother, then you have these untrained drivers speeding on the roads. That brings about these conflicts that result in crashes. So, I'm thinking that if I were the Minister of Highways or whatever, I would bring in these idle hands that we need to find jobs for them to start doing these roads and into Belgium cobblestones, starting from the western region, where we have challenges with rainfall. And these roads, in France, they've lasted for over 100 years. If you go to Pennsylvania, some of the old cities in America and what have you, they have all these Belgian cobblestones that I'm talking about, which has been refined to Belgian blocks. And they are using them comfortably with all their wealth and everything. They are not complaining. So in Ghana, I think it's a solution to stop, instead of people putting asphalt on our roads, and you find the locals going out there to do their illegal speed ramps, where they are not signed. So they are even a hazard on the roads, that if you're driving and all of a sudden you come upon it and you don't see it, it can even throw you off the road.
Hold on. Let me bring Engineer Bimpong here, because I think we're getting to the engineering part of the road. Hello, Engineer.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you now. I can hear you now. And we are looking at roads and engineering of roads. And so,
good evening to your panelists and also to your viewers.
Well, welcome. You're welcome. Engineer, we're looking at cheap technology in building roads instead of the usual bitumen and chippings. And the highway says they are testing two roads, one in the Ashanti region, one in the Kumasi area. Now, you are an engineer. I mean, some of the countries that use these roads have the same temperature or same climate as ours. I mean, what is it that makes you engineers have to retest these technologies over and over, so that many roads could be paved rather than just a few?
Well, thank you very much. But there are many types of road construction. I think I'm getting feedback from here, so let me try.
Okay, the internet is giving us a whole lot of problems there, so we can't hear him properly. But we'll come back to. We got engineer back. Okay, hello engineer.
And I heard one of the panelists talking about use of cobblestones. I think that one of the things that we have to think about is about the good rideability of the roads. Now, if you have a flat road and you do put on cobblestone, obviously there will be other environmental factors that one would want to. And this is traffic noise. This also will impede the smooth movements of people or vehicles on the roads. Talking about cheap.
He was talking about cobblestones. I wanted to hear what he was saying.
Okay, we're struggling with the connection there, so we'll come back.
Did you hear what you were saying about a cobblestone?
It says you have to look at environmental concerns. But I don't
well, but in France and Pennsylvania, if they are still using cobblestones, what is the environmental concerns?
Because
I agree with you. In fact, where I stay, there are a lot of stones. So when I was going there, I said, and when you go Belgium, France, Germany, you will find inner city, cobblestones. And so
and now they
Czechoslovakia, yes. The Russians got them to do a lot of work.
Yeah, those that have cheap labor.
So they cobblestone. So yes, you've seen it. I have never understood why we have not tried it here.
In the last 100 years.
I've never understood why we have not tried it here. So, but it's good. Maybe our engineers should begin looking at it. Because we've got the stones that we crash to do the granite to use for our aggregates. So we could try that. In the western region, yes, because of the nature of the terrain and the rainfall and the moisture. In western region, you can only work.
You're quite a revolutionary. So if you didn't do it, who's going to do it?
No. In western region, what we have done is not to use cobblestone, but we have used pavement blocks.
Yeah, but it doesn't last long. Pavement blocks.
Okay, we use pavement blocks to do it. But I'm just saying that the idea is almost the same. Okay, the idea is almost the same. So if you can use pavement blocks, you could as well use cobblestones.
Alaji,
yes.
you see, we are part. You see, the reason why I came up with this idea. We in the western region have all the mining companies.
Yes.
They are now piling up mountains of stones and what have you. Some of the stones may not be suitable for the cobblestones, but some of them you can test them and you find that you can get granite from them. And you can then, instead of piling up mountains, that is really degrading the environment. Why don't we get these galamseyas who have been made redundant because government is checking the galamsey? Why don't you get this cheap labor? No, in fact, the countries that we are talking about, France, they are not doing the cobblestones because it takes a lot of dexterity, hands, to make these things. So we put 200,000 of these galamseyas and said, look, Western region, within 2 years, we want to make all the roads, so get on it. Instead of going to dirty yourself and harming the environment and doing all those things, let's crack these stones and make all the Western region cobblestones and see the development we can bring to that area, or the advancement or the betterment of the road environment in that area. Then from there, you go up north. Look at, within 10 years, I'm telling you, areas where people are putting illegal, what do you call it, illegal speed ramps, because the drivers, because they are on the smooth, slick roads, asphalt roads, they are driving like crazy.
It slows them
so
down.
You slow them down with cobblestones. I won't use cobblestones. They call them Belgian blocks these days because the technology has made it very rectangular, similar to the paving blocks. But the paving blocks go through a lot of process. But this granite, you identify, and you have a lot of granite. Most of the
we're
roads that we are
fast
building,
losing our granites too.
you have a lot of granites that we can crack and then just bring the machinery to cut them into Belgian blocks and use the hands of these illegal galamseyers who are now...
I will not even go to illegal galamseyers. I mean, it's a fine idea. It's novel. It's good. Why? It requires manpower. It requires labor. Okay? So, and we are faced with the challenge of creating employment.
Yes.
So you can
what the idea of you saying you are bringing new technology where it costs money so that our road is $2 million per kilometer. Believe you me, if our road is 2 million kilometers, then we should not have unemployment in Ghana.
We'll go engineer Bimpon now. So let's get an engineering perspective on this one. Hello, Engineer Bimpon.
Sorry, we're having some challenges with our internet.
Great.
But I guess you can hear me now.
I can hear you now. That's great.
Okay.
Now, with regards to these cobblestones and
Belgian
blocks, as they are called, what do you reckon from an engineering perspective? Any good?
Well, I think that we can probably utilize these in the inner cities and also on the low-volume roads. But when it comes to high-speed roads, while the surfacing may be good, it could also have other undesired effects. And some of the undesired effects are what we call environmental noise. And you will find that even in the U.S., where they started with concrete roads, where you have concrete roads with a lot of joints, if you drive on the motorway, you will find out that if the joint is very close, what happens? You hear this pat sound. Now, what then is going to happen is that if you have communities living very close by, then it is not comfortable for them. But then if it is in the residential areas where the speeds are low, then obviously it is not a bad idea. I studied in the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands we have a lot of these roads, in the inner cities. But on the main roads, you will not find these cobblestones or paving blocks, as we call it here in Ghana. So whilst it is a good idea, it will be very good for these residential and low-volume roads. Now, on the issue of the roads, we have various in roads. We have the hierarchy, and our minister.
Can you lower your TV or your set? We're getting a lot of feedback.
Let me stop there. Is it okay now?
I'm still getting a feedback.
The connection is really poor.
Okay, we're getting a lot of feedback there, so we couldn't get engineers' perspective. But I'll go to Alaji. Alaji, is there something was there a policy that, or just a culture? What's stopping us? Because I remember once upon a time, I hear feeder roads were not supposed to be blacktopped. And then when Anani was minister, decided one day that, look, I'm fed up with every year going to scarify these roads. Just black the top so at least I have 3-4 years peace of mind. And that was it. Feeder roads now have black tops. I mean, could you...
Asphalt.
No, not asphalt. Just put bitumen on top of it so that the rains don't wash it away that quickly.
You see, feeder roads are generally roads that lead you to the farm gates, to communities that are far removed from the trunk roads, communities that are not urban in nature. But you agree with me that your chief, your town 20 years ago is not the same like today.
No.
Whereas you have needed a feeder road to go there, just a lateral top to go there. Today the houses and community and activities down there will require.
Today is a plant town.
But that is a plant town today. Good. And that road is still being done by feeder roads. Because it's not a tank road.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not within the urban setting. So it's still a feeder road. But then you can't say that anytime Nana is driving to his village, he should be accompanied with a cloud of dust. You understand? And so you put a black top. Now, in putting a black top, you might not go full hog. It's a double seal. And double seal is cheaper. Maybe 800,000 or so, or $600,000 or so, you get a double seal. Okay, so when you do that, first you do a primer seal, and then probably you do a single seal. Okay, and so as time goes on, the road communities are improving. The road ought to be improved. The single seal can probably take you up to 6 years, and then you can maintain it. It's okay. I think that we now have to look at the proper construction of the road. Probably Dumaza is now a big community,
And it
so
will
we should put asphalt on it. And so yes, and now Nana is saying no, don't think of asphalt. And Dumaza people want to get home safely. You've got all these rocks there. In fact, some of the rocks are worn around your area. So why don't you get this group of young men who are dying for employment, who for lack of employment are doing illegal small-scale mining? Get them to break them into Belgian blocks and lay them. So when you turn Akosombo, you don't need to speed to your town. You drive slowly and go there.
Let me get engineer.
Even with the Belgian blocks, we're capable of doing 60 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
And that's what you need.
I hear,
you don't need
I hear
to go
we have
100 kilometers an hour.
I hear we have engineer back on the line. Hello, engineer.
Yes.
Great.
Now, what I was, I've heard the discussion that is going on. And there's something that is fundamental to the discussion which I would want to bring up.
Sure.
The issue, yes, the surface is important, but what goes underneath that surface is most important.
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the cobblestones, whatever surfacing it is, and the foundation, let me call it foundation for the purpose of this discussion, but then we would have the various layers of the road structure. That is the base, the sub-base, and of course on a very good foundation. Now, if this foundation is weak, it doesn't matter what you put on. If you put concrete, it will fail eventually.
Yeah.
If you put asphalt, it's going to fail. If you put surface dressing, it's going to fail.
Yeah.
Now, what honorable, former Minister of Roads and Highways was saying is what we call state construction. Now, if you are doing state construction, the base and the sub base must still be quality, so that it will be able to carry the intended loading. Now, if you construct a road and it is not properly done, then it doesn't matter what is put on. But then let me come back to the issue about the cobblestones. I think the issue about traffic. I don't think that you go anywhere in the world where you have a trunk road or a motorway with that kind of surfacing. It may be durable, it may be good, but so far as environmental noise is concerned, nobody would do that, and you will not find it anywhere. I was talking to the fact that I have lived in Holland, and of course you mentioned Belgium. In those countries where they have a lot of these paved roads using paving blocks, they are quite good. In the the inner cities, in residential areas, they work very well. But when it comes to the high-speed roads, I don't think that would be the way to go.
Engineer, please, because of time, 1 minute. How about, they have this polymer technology where after the base is done, they just pour it on and it seals it. And, you read about it and they say it's fairly strong and can take quite a lot of load. So, like with inner roads, which is not motorways, I mean, wouldn't you engineers approve on such things, those technology?
What you just mentioned is a surface sealant. It is going to seal the surface, make it dust-proof, ensure that it is all weather. The whole idea of growth is to ensure that the lower layers do penetrated by water. My soil mechanics lecturer taught me that there are three things which could destroy your road structure. And what are they? Water, water, water. So it means that water penetration into the lower layers of the structure of the road are very, very crucial. If you allow water to enter into your road is finished. That is why we want to provide a surface that is all that will not allow any ingress of water into our pavement. So that is my take on that. Yes, let us strengthen our road bases. Have a surface sealant. It can be blacktop. It can be. Now there are so many chemicals that are used. Once these chemicals are used, and they will prevent the ingress of water, and also would have the capacity to take the loading from the vehicles, then why not? It will work.
Thank you very much for this conversation. I apologize from the beginning that it's an hour will not be enough, but at least we need to attempt it. If we have any messages, I would catch up if you've sent some messages through. We'll go onto our message board and see what they say. Or Hineba says, a bunch of hypocrites. Media houses, you had the platform since God knows, but now that another celebrity passed away, you're trying to use a platform to discuss this situation. Yo yate or Hineba. Baba Wala says, clear the roads when broken down vehicles are there. Ensure street lights are where they are supposed to be. Ensure busy roads are wide enough for easy driving. Ensure they are traffics where needed. Drivers should not drink and drive. More of education. Street lights, that's another thing, isn't it? Most of the roads in Ghana need ramps. The drivers who drive from Yabransa Junction to Asingfosu Road doesn't take their time at all. This is for Eric. Seth Ejenim Boating, our road networks are very bad. No street light. Most of our cars use second-hand parts in the maintenance, and the law enforcement on our roads are more corrupt than the word corruption. In any way, if you have a country where people are not held responsible, accountable to their failures in discharging their duties, but rather attribute to God what you expect. Let me wrap up with you.
The first texter missed the point. In any human establishment, once in a while you are jolted into action. And matters of what has happened to Ebony will affect the consciousness of human beings and get us thinking again. What do we do to prevent? I mean, that is how human societies have responded to situations. So discussing this is not being hypocritical. It's just responding to the situation and saying that, well, it appears we have not done well so far. And what do we do to contain the situation? I think that, like you just mentioned, Polima, I mean, the Ministry of Roads and Highways has been experimenting that as well. I mean, you're looking at a way to reduce costs. We cannot continue building our roads at that cost.
2 million a kilometer.
No, we cannot. We
won't have enough kilometers.
Yes.
Nana, is there at least two things that we have to put in place to make the roads safer?
But from safety point of view, I will still go by my cobblestone idea. Because Alaji talked about putting blacktop. Now, putting blacktop makes the place even darker. And then in the night, when there are no road markings on it, it's even more dangerous.
It's more dangerous. You can drive into the bush.
I would rather have my red graveled whatever road without blacktop and go with dust around me. I'll go and bath rather than having blacktop and then no markings in the night. You get a road crash.
Well, so we must compare markets. Why we think that we should put blacktop is that also when you are driving on the laterite, your cost of operation increases.
Yeah, but then which one would you prefer?
Gentlemen, let me say thank you to Engineer Kwabna Bimpon who joined us via Skype. I want to say thank you to Inisa Husseini, Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale Central and a former Minister for Roads and Highways. Thank Nana Ano Ami here, who's a road safety advocate and expert. And I want to thank you for tuning in. The number is 024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. Tantees Fashions, they make my shirts for the show. Give them a call and get yourself a shirt. And indeed, to all those 3 souls that were lost that evening, we say condolences to the family for that. It was tragedy. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much for watching.